and welcome to the third edition of the College Strength Happy Hour at the Deadlift Bar podcast.
What's up, guys? I'm Andrew.
And I'm Alex. So how's your week been going, Andrew?
It's been going pretty well.
It's been going?
It's going pretty well.
That's a surprise.
I turned 21 today.
Hey, let's get lit.
That was a big, big adjustment. It's been fun. It's been really fun. Haven't had too much homework or anything, so I've been hitting the gym pretty hard. Actually,
focusing on that training. Yeah,
a little bit. You know, I'm about to go to Spain, so I gotta kick it in the last of my bulk before I start my mini cut.
Gonna make the benefit of the extra calories.
Yeah, man. You know it.
That's good, dude. That's good. So, like, what type of training are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm doing kind of a mixture between the workout you put me on when I was like intensely bulking, and because right now I'm like slowly reducing my calories back to 3,500.
He's doing that reverse
I'm pulling
diet.
it down. Yeah,
Getting ready to get lean.
I'm focusing on getting my abs a little bigger. You know, right before I cut. I want my arms a little bigger, so I've been hitting the arms, which is something different because before I've just been deadlifting.
Yeah.
Still been hitting the back really hard because I want, a bigger back and chest, of course.
Bigger pecs, bigger
pecs. Yeah. Been slacking on the legs though.
Oh, true.
I gotta admit it though.
Yeah, really? You been skipping leg day?
Just a few times, yeah. Dude. But now that it's coming to the end,
You know what I've been getting into recently is like watching people do quarter squats on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was showing you that video.
I remember that.
You remember? I just think it's so funny because I love it when people expose themselves when they're just doing something that's completely wrong, but maybe they don't know that it's wrong.
Oh, I don't know what they know. I think they're denying it because that one dude was just.
Yeah, he was like questioning that everyone was scoring to depth.
Yeah.
He's like, if you're scoring to depth, you're only doing it because you're doing powerlifting, and like.
Yeah, he's like, there's a big difference between powerlifting and bodybuilders. I only need to go down this far. And
if you go down 1 inch, that's the muscle building range. But if you go down to depth, man, you're not building any muscle there.
Killing it.
He was like, I need to be scoring 315 for 10 reps, and I can't do that if I go to full depth. He was like, I see these guys, they score 225 for 5 or 6 reps, and they're not building muscle because they're going to full range.
Yeah, it's their problem, dude.
You gotta be doing it for 10 reps. So this is new programming advice: 10 reps quarter squats.
Yeah.
You're gonna be scoring 500 in like 3 weeks.
Follow it, guys.
Yeah, follow it. That's my goal. My new goal.
All right, enough of the intro. So what are we talking about today, Alex?
Today we are going to talk about the very important subject of programming.
There we go.
So, yes. So you talked about like the program you're doing right now.
Right.
What are some programs that you've tried like in the past? Let's just go back to like very day one. So what was the first thing you ever did?
First thing I tried, I was like 14.
Right.
I would go out to the garage and I would do 200 push-ups every day, not in a row. But I would do like
every single day, or
every single day right before I went to bed.
True.
Which obviously is not a good program at all. But anyway, I would go out there.
But it's like that base strength though, so maybe that's not.
Now I have a good bench press, so maybe that extends.
It's way better than mine. Maybe I need to be doing.
Well, here's what I would do. I would do. I was a pretty skinny kid back then, so I could do around 75 in a row. And then after
that's pretty good.
I did 75.
Is it like full to chest to floor?
Nose to floor.
No, okay. Wow.
I do nose to floor because but I'm not like sticking my neck out like a turtle trying to get my nose to floor. No, like I did it right. I did it right.
True.
But anyway, I don't know if I could do that now, but I would do 75, then I would do 50, then I'd do another 50, and then I end it with 25, so that's 200 total. Wow. I do it every night right before I went to bed, so I got literally no food in me right after, so I'd wake up starving,
So that exercise.
That was probably the reason I just didn't get any muscle until I was like 16.
You're just not refueling. You're just burning all these calories and just not.
I was breaking the muscles down, but I wasn't going back in.
And helping to build the muscles back. Great. Yeah.
So that's what I started with. What did you start with?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think so initially when I started training, as we talked about before, I was kind of doing it for the traditional bro side of it. So, I was trying to just look like these people in the front of fitness magazines. If you read my blog, you'll know all about my kind of journey into fitness, and you'll know that I kind of had the desire to get the unattainable male physique, right?
Everyone does.
Yeah, I think right now I have abs. I don't have big arms, but they're probably bigger than average. I have pretty big legs, but I'll never truly be happy with my body, so I I've reached the point now where I'm like accepting that it's okay to not look like a fitness model.
Well, a lot of the fitness, industry is colluded by the Photoshop industry as well.
Photoshop industry and the steroid industry,
especially for females. They got it.
I think that's
terrible.
a huge issue. Is like, I don't think it's unacceptable to promote a healthy body, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not unacceptable to say you should look like it. You should want to look like this girl who has six-pack abs and is really strong. But I think it's unacceptable to say you should look like this girl who's been photoshopped 6 times and is on like a ton of Anavar or Tren, right? Because that's not attainable for someone who's just eating well and trying to exercise as much as they can.
That's so true. I mean, but it we don't want to discourage anyone out there though, because I've like what I've done. I never thought I could gain any weight. I could never put any weight on.
True.
And
I'm a hard gainer as well.
Since I started,
apart from when I was fat, but that's not like gains. That's just being fat.
But since I started, some good programming, some good powerlifting programs, it really has helped my physique because I never wanted to really be a powerlifter.
You never did.
I never wanted strength training. Never cared about it.
True.
But until I adapted my programming to get stronger in the powerlifting range, I could never build my physique that I wanted.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that you look at a lot of bodybuilders now, and I think it's becoming kind of more common to do like sort of powerlifting training in their off season. So now instead of doing sets of 20, I mean I don't know how bro splits work. Like I'm gonna be real, but I think instead of doing like sets of 15 or 20, they're doing like more like 3 or 5 rep training cycles because it's giving you the benefit of building up that strength, right? So I think if you're capable of squatting, let's say you can squat 500 because you've done all this powerlifting training, and your 1 rep max is now 500. So on your end season, when you're doing like sets of 10 or 20, you're working with like 315, as opposed to the guy that can only squat 315, who in his on season is now doing sets of 10 with 225. Right. I think it's the more stress you're putting on the muscle, the more muscle you're going to build and accumulate. So I think it's more, stronger muscle. They say that a bigger muscle has the potential to be stronger, but I also think that if you build that strength, you're giving yourself the potential to. It's making it a little bit easier for you to get bigger, right? Because now, as opposed to only doing 10 reps of 225, you can do 20 or 25.
That's so true. I think that you definitely got to build on that base. You got to start somewhere.
True.
And I remember when I wanted to get my bench press up. I used to be a goal of mine when I was like 16 to bench 225 because that's obviously a benchmark.
That was a goal of mine when I was 19. I reached it when I was 20.
Well, everybody's at different speeds, but one thing that I definitely did to increase my bench press was I would do something called eccentric bench pressing.
Right.
And that was leading. Do
you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, I was segueing into one of the other programs I started, which was eccentric. And what I did here was I would have 1 or 2 people with me at all times spotting, and I would put a weight on. At that time, it was 225, and I knew I couldn't do it.
Right.
But I put it on, and I would get 5 reps out of there, no matter what. So my friends would help me, and they wouldn't grab it like I was in trouble. They would use 2 fingers on the bar and help me slowly get it up. And if I couldn't get it up, then we'd have to rack it if it was too hard on those 2 fingers, and I have to move weight down. But if they could get it up with just 2 fingers, that means I'm very close to getting that weight.
That's good.
So I do. So
it's like a confidence builder, right?
Exactly, it's a confidence builder. Gets you used to the feel.
So it's kind of like almost using like reverse bands. Have you ever done that before?
Yeah, well, no, I haven't done that, but you were telling me about that. Why don't you explain that?
Like reverse bands, so you hook the bands up to the top of the rack, and you put the barbell in there, so you can use it for squats, bench, even deadlift. And you kind of set it at the height that you want to start from, right? Right. So you pull the weight down, and at the bottom of the rep, there really is there's no band tension, right? Because at the loosest part of the band. Wait, no, it's the wrong way around. At the bottom of the rep, there's the most band tension because you're pulling against the band.
So it helps you more.
So it's helping you more as you push up, right?
Right.
And like as you get to the top, the band is like deloading, so it's giving you less help. So it's kind of the same thing, right? Because once the people helping you lift the bar up a little bit. Yeah. I think it's actually called there's a name it's called like the touch method. Maybe not so much like the whole time, but I think I've seen videos of people. For example, in a deadlift using it, where it's like a weight that they haven't quite been able to get yet, but someone just puts their hand under it and they're pushing it a little bit, and it kind of help you through a sticking point. So maybe it's kind of similar to like what you're doing, right?
Yeah, the only reason I would say I would prefer eccentric and like somebody actually there as opposed to bands is it really helped me because on the way down I had no help.
Oh, so you're feeling the weight.
Exactly, I'm feeling it 100%.
Yeah, whereas with the band, it's kind of coming against the band tension, so it's
exactly
reducing the weight.
It reduces the weight, but on the way up, not everybody can bring the weight down slowly.
True.
If you can't bring the weight down slowly, you should not be doing it at all.
That's true. I think that's very true.
You bring it down slowly, it builds that muscle, and then they help you up. And then it gets the confidence to a point where you're pretty much doing it by yourself.
That's true.
But it's a mental thing. You need
because
your friends
they're
there.
helping you. Yeah,
they're there. You feel like you can do it.
I think that's a good point. I think that that's... You can do this in a variety of ways. Like people use the Slingshot. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's essentially just like have you ever seen like geared powerlifting? Mm-hmm. They wear like bench shirts and they look their arms all like jagged out like this. No. You've probably never seen it, right? But basically what it is it's like a strip of like nylon, some type of material, and you put it around your elbows.
Oh, I've heard of this.
So as you come down, it's like elasticating. Huh. So it gives you kind of a spring out of the bottom of your bench press, kind of. If anyone who's listening knows what a bench shirt is, a bench shirt gives you the same spring out the bottom of your bench press. So you're essentially able to overload, right? Because overload is the most important part of training. Because you need to overload your body so you can accumulate to higher stresses so that you can essentially become stronger. So I think what you're saying, even though probably at the time you didn't know what you were doing, is probably one of the things that's made you the strongest at the bench press because you were constantly experiencing using 225.
Exactly.
Even though there wasn't a weight you could use, but you were using a technique that allowed you to use that weight, right?
Exactly, yes. I completely agree. I think that's what's helped me the most in growth, and I encourage all people listening, if you are having trouble bench pressing, try this method. It really works. It's a little scary at first, but you get into it, and in no time, you're doing 225, 315, whatever you're trying to do.
I think the most important part about that is having people with you that know what they're doing. So you're not there with someone who thinks that benching 225 is the same as someone having an underhand overhand grip on it, pulling it up off your chest as you're forcing upwards, right? I think you need to be there with people that have that same expectation. But I think, honestly, that's a really, really good idea, and I wish that that's something I tried to do, and it's probably going to be something that I'll try and incorporate.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we can't use bands in our gym, so I think that's... You can't use bands, and, I don't want to spend, $50 on a Slingshot, even though it's probably going to be beneficial. It's obviously a good method to get the same overload. I think another thing that you can definitely try is floor pressing. So I don't know if that's something you've done before.
I've seen that. I've never done it. But I think I've done it with lightweight just to try it, but I don't think I've ever actually done it.
It's kind of like a fun alternative. I think it can be really beneficial for especially a lot of beginner lifters. In terms of just because I think when a lot of people start out, they don't use leg drive to their full benefit. I know that you definitely don't. I've been saying to Andrew for a while that if you got good decent shoes, he could anchor himself better, kind of build that arch and. Really use the leg drive, and he'd have 315.
The last couple times I've been bench pressing, I've been really focusing on the leg drive, and I think it really helps.
Yeah, I think you get a good pair of shoes on your feet, man. You'll be pressing 315 for reps in no time. But I think the benefit of floor pressing is it's really overloading your lockout, right?
Right.
So it's kind of an overload in that you're not going down the whole way, so you can use more weight. So instead of let's say my max right now, which is an undisclosed amount, but let's say it's somewhere between 225 and 405.
Right.
Somewhere in between those two
there.
numbers. But let's take 315 as an example, right? Okay. Let's say your max is 315 on a regular bench press. On a floor press, you might be able to do 315 for sets of 5, right?
Really?
Because your max on the floor press might be 350. Obviously that varies between person because, I know that for me, I don't really lose that much when I do a feet up bench versus on the ground bench. Yeah. But for some people, they might go on a floor press and it might be a lot harder, it might be a lot easier. But regardless of that, it should, for the most part, help you overload.
It rounds out your bench press.
Yeah, and it should help you overload. And you're really working on your tricep lockout, but you're also... I think the most important part of doing a floor press or a heavy eccentric, like you were saying, is that you're really focusing on the bringing it down part. Because when you're doing a floor press, you're bringing your elbows to the ground. So you're pulling the weight down. So you're focusing on tightening your lats, bringing your shoulders together, right?
Right.
Really forcing that back, which is I think that's the biggest issue where people fail the bench press, is because they bring the weight down too fast and when they're doing pause reps or like a 1 rep max, they slam it against their chest and they immediately lose tightness because they're forcing and reaching to finish that rep, right? So when you do a floor press, you're pulling it down and you really have to focus on like rowing with your lats, right? So you're really forcing your chest forward and bringing your shoulders and your lats back to get that weight down in a controlled manner, because it's probably heavier than anything you've ever benched. And then as you push up, you're from a dead stop. So you really have to focus on maintaining that tightness and really pushing through your elbows and your shoulders to like finish the rep. And I think that has an enormous carryover to heavy maxes. And I think this is definitely an element of programming that people neglect, is undulating periodization, right? So you need to, I think that one of the things that helped me the most is that for a long time I kind of used a modified, it's somewhere in between daily undulating periodization and a conjugate method style of training, in which I was going in the gym and I was doing like heavy 1 rep maxes on like variations or just the lift that I wanted to. But this is the thing that definitely helped my training the most, because I was able to go in and let's say I did a block pull and deadlifts and I could deadlift way more than I could off the ground, and it helped me to overload so much. But I think raw lifters don't employ this in their training, and people that do bodybuilding as well definitely don't employ this in their training, because it doesn't necessarily have a direct carryover to building muscle, right? It's just helping you to get stronger in one specific range of motion. But over time, I don't think that it's necessarily even about working on your weaknesses. It's just more about acclimating to that weight, right? So if you, let's say, like my big deadlift goal is I want to deadlift 650 at Nationals in October, right?
Right.
So in order to do that, I'm going to do a lot of deficit deadlifts with, let's say, anywhere between 450 and 500 for singles, just to try and acclimate myself to pulling a weight that should be light for me from a really difficult and shitty position where it feels a lot heavier. But that's going to help me to feel out the weight and get a little bit stronger. And I'm also going to do some pulling from some singles from plates, so like kind of a little bit elevated, but relatively specific elevation, right? So it's only a slight difference.
Right.
But this is, I'm going to do some pulls with like 600, let's say, and that's really going to help me experience the heavier weight. So as I build that strength, I'm not going to be lifting up the bar and being like, hey, this is really heavy, and be like, okay, this is a weight I've pulled off blocks super easy. I think, that it has dramatic carryover, like, with your programming, I had you doing some variations you'd never done before. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, actually, I had one more. I actually had 2 more points I wanted to bring up before I talked about that.
Let's do that.
The first point being is, I think you brought up an interesting point of mental limits.
Yeah.
So I know I was listening to somebody's podcast that you put on your playlist.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the 4-minute mile and running.
Oh, yeah.
You probably know a little more about that. You want to talk about that?
No, I think it's cool. You tell the story.
Okay, I mean, I only know a little bit about it, but from what I gather was there was one guy who broke the 4-minute mile, and you know what year that was? Roger Bannister. What year was that?
It was like 1980 something, right?
Right, and then like for 20 years or something, nobody could break it.
No one could break it.
For 20 years, nobody could.
Before he broke the minute mile, right?
Right.
4-minute mile. No one had ever run a mile in 4 minutes, right?
Okay.
So for the longest time. Then this guy, Roger Bannister, broke the 4-minute mile because he believed that he could run a mile faster than 4 minutes, right? Because I think that's an essential part of doing anything.
Right.
But as soon as he broke that 4-minute mile, hundreds of people started breaking it. And now, like, there's kids in high school that can run a mile in 4 minutes, right? But before 1980 or whenever the fuck this year was that he did this, no one had ever run a mile in under 4 minutes. But it's like, I had another analogy where it's like, we know that people can deadlift 1,000 pounds, right? We've seen videos of strongmen deadlifting. It's not necessarily 100% legit because they're using straps. Whatever, I'm a hater. But anyway, let's say we've seen people deadlift over 1,000, but no one can deadlift 2,000 pounds, right? So does that make it, for you as a person who's just in the gym, do you think you're ever going to be able to deadlift 1,000 pounds?
Probably not, because nobody else has ever done it.
Well, yeah, okay. So you don't think that you can ever deadlift 1,000 pounds, right?
Right.
Because you don't believe that someone can deadlift 2,000 pounds.
Right.
Because you're saying, I'm just this average guy that goes to the gym and I lift a bit, right? But because the highest level that we've ever seen is 1,000 pounds, we automatically set our limits as being a lot lower.
It's true.
So I think, like, if there's someone deadlifted 2,000 pounds, you say, well, 1,000 pounds is only half of the amount of what can ever be deadlifted, so why can't I deadlift 1,000 pounds?
Exactly.
Right?
So you push yourself more, and your mental mold is broken, and you get into the schema where you can actually do more weight just because somebody else has already gone that.
But I think that's an essential part of programming too, because which people always neglect, right? I think that if you're going into a meet and let's say the most you've ever squatted is like 315, right? Just as an example, and you're gonna make that your second attempt, right? But you haven't squatted 315 in 6 months because you haven't tested, because you're building up into this meet or whatever, right? And then you're gonna just say your open is 300, and then that makes your third attempt like 330 or something. You're immediately setting yourself up for failure because you don't know that you can squat 315.
Right.
And most people in a build up to a meet, they'll just test their opener, so they'll just squat 300. I think this is a complete fallacy. Like, you need to be going in the gym and you need to be hitting 300, 315, and probably even a little bit more than 315 in your build up to your meet. Probably not 1 or 2 weeks out, but maybe 3 or 4 weeks out. You really need to be pushing yourself and superseding where you already believe yourself to be, so that you know going into this meet that you can squat 320 and your first attempt's 300 and your second's 315. Well, you know you've got at least 5 pounds more from that, so when you step up for that second attempt, you've got it, which is an essential part of succeeding.
But then you still push yourself for the
exactly,
third attempt.
and you can still say, alright, well, I PR'd with 320 3 weeks ago, well, I know I've got like 30 pounds more,
right,
because I feel a shit ton stronger. And that's honestly half of it. And I think that was a huge mistake I made in my recent meet, right, is that I didn't take enough heavy singles, because grinding out reps is a skill. It's a learned skill. In case you don't know that, like, you need to have the experience of grinding reps, because you're never going to be good at doing something if you've never done it, right? So I think I didn't take enough heavy singles, I didn't do enough heavy doubles, I didn't do enough heavy triples. I just did a lot of rep work and I built the strength, but I never truly tested it or pushed it or found out where I was weak. Right. I think that I mean, that's something we employed in your training. You were running a program which involved you doing a lot of working up to rep maxes. You know, the strength theory program you ran. Right. And like, how did that change your training experience? Like, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So when I initially went into the strength theory, is that what you call it, strength theory?
Strength theory. Yeah. I think that's what it's called.
Strength theory program. I was at a plateau. I hadn't gotten anywhere in a long time. When I started this program, though, it was very intimidating because I was doing a lot more weight than I thought I should be doing.
That was the program when you were working up to like 8 rep maxes and then 5 rep maxes, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So it took all, like, when I used to work out, especially the workout before the strength theory, I was doing Hugh Jackman's workout.
Oh, true.
And his workout has you doing a lot of different exercises every single day. Right. Now, the strength theory workout was more like you're doing 3 or 4 exercises, but you're doing like 8 sets.
So you want to give an example of like, let's say, what was an average squat workout for you? Like
before?
An average legs, when you're doing, let's say before and then also in the strength theory.
Alright, so here's Hugh Jackman's workout for legs. I would, or a better example because I just remember it better, would be arms.
Right.
So for Hugh Jackman's workout, I would start and I would do regular biceps. I would do hammer curls. I would go over and do preacher curls. And like, these are all like 2 or 3 sets only. 2
of like what? How many reps? Like 10?
Probably 10 to 15. Yeah, 10 to 15 is actually what he wanted
so
you to
hit. So it's definitely like the bodybuilding, kind of traditional bodybuilding range.
Right, and then I would do the Zodeman curls, I would do the pronated curls, I would do curls where you do it on the side.
True.
Just a lot of fucking curls.
Right. By the way, Zodeman curls are like legit. They're really, really good.
They do work really well.
Results.
I love Zodeman.
Anyway, yeah, finish what you're saying, sorry.
Okay, so when it comes to strength theory, all the sets that you do are, let's say, the week 1 would probably be the most reps, right?
It's like you work out to an 8 rep max, right?
Right.
And then you do 3 sets of 5 at that same weight.
Yeah. So when I got to week 3, which was the 90% week for strength
so it was like a 3 rep max, right?
It was like 3 rep max, then I would do 2 rep max, and then I don't think I would ever do the 1 until week 4.
Yeah, because you skipped that week all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would get up to 3 and the 2. So anyway, the workout changed because I was not doing 10 reps of curls, you know, because that would cut up my arms. Yeah, it looked okay. Didn't get much results
of that. You're just
getting
mad fatigue, right?
Yeah, exactly, mad fatigue. But I didn't care about getting stronger. I cared about looking good.
Yeah.
So when I went and started doing the strength theory workout, I would lift copious amounts of weight, but I would also gain like insane muscle growth and weight growth like immediately. Because
it's a different stimulus, right?
Yeah, a different approach.
Because you've never trained with like super heavy, super like proportions of your maxes, right?
Exactly.
So you're kind of putting yourself through a different experience.
Yeah, and it's not just that it was different. It was just overall just like better.
True.
You know, because
yeah.
you're a lot of people think that you can just get really big and cut and like bodybuilding, like if you just go into the gym and do a bunch of leg curls and things of that nature, you know, but you really have to do the heavy core lifts or you're not going to get the results.
You got to squat, man. I think it's one of the most neglected exercises. Like everyone skips leg day, but in reality, like squatting isn't even necessarily legs. Like I think you put so much pressure on your abs, even when you're wearing a belt. Like if you're wearing a belt, arguably that's more effective for ab growth because you're forcing your abdominal muscles, your abdominal wall against a belt. So it's like a solid object, and you're forcing your muscles out so that you can be stronger. You're helping you're growing your back because I know definitely for me, like the last 30% of my squat is just a good morning. So I mean, like I'm building my back strength, right? But I think even for the most part is it's kind of twofold, but confidence, right?
Yeah.
So I've got confidence outside of the gym because I know when I go into the USF gym, like I can squat more than pretty much anyone in there, right?
Yeah.
But it makes you feel better because you're like, wow, I can squat this weight. I feel better about myself because I don't need to look a certain way to feel good about what I'm doing in terms of my fitness, right?
Right.
But then on another side of the confidence in the gym is so much better because I know that you know, if I'm doing leg press or anything, I used to get like super hyped up and like worried about leg press, but now like I don't give a shit. Like when I leg press, I'm just like, okay, it doesn't even matter. It's just a secondary exercise, but it's also so much easier because going from a barbell movement like a squat, which involves so many different factors,
balance,
right, and different
strength,
and coordination, right, and then you sit on a leg press where all you're doing is pushing your legs back and forth.
Right.
It's super easy.
Yeah.
And I think that you're taking away. You're still having the hypertrophy in there, and that's a choice that you can make. Like if you're trying to build a lot of muscle, then maybe you do like a powerlifting squat, which is just building your strength and allowing you to overload more, and then you go and do leg press, which is just getting that extra volume in.
Mm-hmm.
You're still getting the best of both worlds.
So true.
I think that's definitely something that we included on our lower focus program.
Yeah.
So go check that out if that's something you're interested in, especially with legs. But it's totally free. It's on our website, collegestrength.org. But yeah, I think that people neglect the main movements, and I think if you're listening to this, you're probably interested in actually getting stronger, right?
Yeah.
So I think that just don't worry. I think I spent a lot of time worrying about like what other people thought about the way that I acted in the gym, and like now I really don't care. Like I go in there and I have my knee sleeves, I have my belt, I have my wrist wraps. Whatever's gonna help you get through the workout is what you need to be doing. And if you're going in there and you're maxing out every day, and that's the program that you want to be doing, and if it's helping you and you're making gains on it, then do it. Like I don't think that you should take advice. I was always told us when I was younger is never take advice from someone who isn't where you want to be, right?
Right.
So I think
you wouldn't switch places with.
Yeah, if you wouldn't switch places, if you wouldn't take my squat instead of your squat, then you shouldn't listen to what I'm saying.
Right.
If you don't care that I squat 500 and if you don't want to squat that, then don't listen to what I'm saying because it doesn't apply to you because you probably know more than I do, right?
But what you need to remember is that strength also transfers over to size, which also transfers over to looking good. So it's always a trickle down, and one area of fitness helps the other.
For sure. I think that's such a neglected element. Like, you look at Ronnie Coleman, dude's super strong.
Yeah.
Like, he was on a ton of steroids and stuff, but no one can argue with the fact that, he can squat like 9 plates, right? Yeah. This guy, I mean, he's a huge guy, like 300 pounds, but he's a bodybuilder. He's always trained for doing a ton of reps, but inevitably that does also incorporate some strength. Mm-hmm. And he always did a lot of like overload work where he would just go super heavy and just do as many reps as he can, like an AMRAP set, where maybe he got 5, 6, 7, 8 reps, but that's building strength because you're really, really overloading your muscles.
Right.
I think the most important part of programming is overload, and I think if you're not feeling that, at least at some points in your training cycle, you're getting overload, you should be getting overload at least like one workout for the individual movements. So I kind of I don't necessarily break my days down in terms of the movements, but I'm squat, benching, and deadlifting heavy once a week at least. And then the other days, I squat 3 times a week, I bench 4 times a week right now, I deadlift twice a week. So one of my deadlift days is really heavy, one of them is lighter, but it's more volume. But I'm getting overload in 2 different remits on both of those days. So on my heavy day, I'm feeling out heavier weights, I'm experiencing heavier weights. I'm doing deficit deadlifts for my heavy days right now, so I'm experiencing experiencing a weight that is well within my capability, but it feels really heavy because I'm standing on a plate. And then on my other day, I'm doing more volume every single week, so I'm constantly getting that overload.
That's also something that strength theory helped, was changing it up every week.
True.
Because a lot of times in my other workouts, I'd stay stagnant and do the same exercises. And I remember the first week I would get really sore, but then, after a while, it would just be plateau. But
it's more a mental thing than anything, right?
Yeah.
Because I think if you know that every single week you're going in and you're doing a 5x5 and you're adding 5 pounds, like that week before you might have died doing that 5x5, and you know the next week you've got to go in and do 320 for that 5x5, and last week you died doing 315, it's going to be so hard for you,
right? Because
you're already putting yourself in deficit, because you're like, how the hell am I going to do this, right? But if you're using a program like daily undulating periodization, or some type of periodization model where you're going in and every single week is let's say you do a 5x5, the next week you're doing 3 sets of 5, you might be confident that you can get that 320 because it's 2 less sets, right? You're doing 10 less reps than the week before.
Right.
So you're still getting that overload, you're still improving, you're still making progression, but it's just, you're kind of helping yourself get there because you're not trying to constantly push harder than you need to be. I think that's the most important element of this conversation, is that you need to be pushing yourself, but pushing yourself at a reasonable rate and expecting reasonable progress.
Right.
You can't expect to add 10 pounds every single week unless you're a beginner, because it's just not realizable. And at some point you're going to hit a wall and you're going to hit a plateau, like you talked about, right?
Right.
So I think you need to find ways that you can add weight constantly and experience heavier weights, like you said, whether that's involving variations that allow you to handle heavier weights, whether that's doing different rep and set schemes that allow you to handle different weights, or whether that's taking breaks from in between your heavy weeks, right? So that you do a 1 rep max and then you take a week off from doing 1 rep maxes and you just do reps, and then the week after that you go back to doing 1 rep maxes feeling refreshed, kind of like a deload, but almost like a working deload, right? So you're doing maybe like 70% for a lot of reps, more of a hypertrophy based week, and then the next week you're going back and you're doing 2-3 1 rep maxes, let's say, or like 3 sets of 1 or something in a more heavier range that's challenging yourself, but you've taken that mental break and you've taken that physical break and you're coming back and you're feeling refreshed.
Right.
Anything else to add?
No, so just to summarize, if somebody is out there and they're looking for something different and something that's going to give them results, what do you recommend, just on an overall, just general note, of for what to look for a program? Just quickly sum it up.
I think if you don't look at a program and it doesn't excite you, then you shouldn't do it, right?
Right.
So I think if you've done a ton of linear programs and you're bored of it, you might still be able to make linear gains, but if that doesn't excite you anymore, then don't do it, right? Find something that's completely different. I don't think it's harmful. Conjugate isn't the most effective for raw athletes, right? But it might be a fun thing to do, to like mess around with some bands and chains, some slingshot work and stuff like that.
Right.
It might be kind of fun to have people.
Tires.
Yeah, it might be kind of fun to have people use the touch method occasionally and do some floor pressing. I don't think you should ever take a program just completely stock, right? I've never once downloaded a program off the internet and completely run it. I've added my own things to it. I've taken out some things I don't like. I've added some things I do like. Whether that's making it slightly less optimal, it doesn't really matter, because I'm getting way more enjoyment out of it.
You just got to make sure, no matter what, if you take out elements, if you add elements, that you're working hard.
Yeah.
That's the basis of everything.
Agree. I think that the basis of it is that you need to be progressing. You need to be working hard. You need to be pushing yourself. You need to be tired when you come out of the gym, but you don't need to be fucked. You need to be walking out of the gym thinking, wow, that was a good workout. You don't need to be walking out of the gym crawling, thinking like, that was the worst pain of my life, right?
That's so true.
That's not optimal.
We've all been there.
Exactly. Alright, anything else you want to say?
No, I think that was a good session.
Awesome.
We're going to wrap it up.
Alright, well, check out our services on our website. We have some great blogs written by me, written by Kelsey. We have some great free programs. There's some great coaching options up there. There's some t-shirts. There'll be some new designs coming
Lovely
soon.
t-shirts, guys.
Buy our t-shirts because we want to drop the new designs and we need money to do that.
There we go.
Right? That's the reality of it. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for supporting our company. We really do appreciate it, and definitely share it with your friends so we can make this whole movement grow.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you next week.
All right. See you guys.